All right. All right. Good morning, wonderful children. How are you doing? I hope you are doing well and you are doing great. Yes, today I come to you with Mr. Alute Science Class 101. Yes, we are going to continue our lesson on ecosystem. We started doing ecosystem, what's an ecosystem and the likes. Yes, but we didn't finish and then we went on, we had to switch from face-to-face learning to online learning. Now today what we are going to look at, basically we are going to look at two things. The first one is the relationship between plants and animals. Then the second one will be adaptation. The second one will be adaptations. All right. Now with relationship between plants and animals. Now we know that for every ecosystem, it's made up of a community and its environment, where the community refers to the things that are living in that place or that habitat, and the environment are the things that surround it. Now for plants and animals, we depend on each other. No one is what we say mutually exclusive. No one can live alone. Plants cannot say that we don't need animals. Neither can animals also say that they don't need plants. Now let's see, how do animals depend on plants for survival? Now first things first, without plants, animals will die. Yes, because plants manufacture their own food by a process called photosynthesis. Plants manufacture their own food by a process called photosynthesis, and once they are able to manufacture the food, then the animals will go and feed on the plants. Yes, either we feed on the plant directly or we feed on the plants indirectly, because some animals don't eat plants. We call them cannibals. Animals that feed on the flesh of other animals. They don't eat the plants. But some animal, like let's say a goat, will go and eat the grass, or the goat will eat the cassava plant. If the goat eats the cassava and the lion eats the goat, the lion has indirectly eaten the cassava because the goat ate it. So the energy in the cassava is in the goat, and the lion has eaten that goat. So the energy has been transferred to the lion. So if plants are not there, animals will not get food to survive. Now the second importance of plants to animals is that plants provide animals with oxygen. Yes, they give us air to breathe. If plants don't give us oxygen, we will not survive. We will die. We will not get any air to breathe. And this same photosynthesis is what they use to produce the oxygen. They take out the carbon dioxide and then they will produce oxygen. They use carbon dioxide and mineral salts to produce the food, then and water to produce the food. Then they'll give us oxygen and then the food that we eat. So once they produce the oxygen, we take in the oxygen, and without oxygen, living things or animal life will cease to exist. Now plants also provide animals with shade, and let me say housing, because if the plants are not there, ask yourself, when the sun is scorching, this is hot African sun, and it is hot, where will you go and stand? When the sun is scorching, we normally look for a tree, and then you stand there and you just take some fresh air to relax your body. So if the plants are not there, we will not get that shade, and once that shade is not there, we will die from heat. There's this thing called heat stroke. When there's excessive heat and your body begins to lose a lot of water, you dehydrate. It can kill you. So we need the plants to provide us with the shade. Either we'll go and stand under the tree directly, or we'll use the tree to build a house or a shed where we can stand and then relax for the heat to go down, so that we can continue our journey. Now the last one that I'll say is that plants also provide animals with water. Yes, we know you say that, but there are rivers. The rivers are already there. It rains, so how do plants give us water? It's true, but if you can refer to your notes in class 5 or 4 on water cycle, you realize that for the water cycle it has 4 stages. There is evaporation, there is precipitation, there is condensation, and then there's transpiration. So the water that plants take, they lose it through their leaves into the atmosphere, and that water goes and falls as rain. If that water doesn't come down, where will we get water in our rivers to flow? Because the rivers are made up of water, and most rivers get their sources from somewhere, and most of the water from that somewhere comes from the rain. Because when it rains, it will be collected somewhere and then it will flow through your rivers. So plants provide animals with also water. Now let's turn the table. Let's flip the coin. Now let's look at how plants depend on animals. The first one was how animals depend on plants. Now let's look at how plants depend on animals. Now, plants to survive, they need animals to provide them with carbon dioxide. Yes, they need animals to provide them with carbon dioxide. If animals don't produce carbon dioxide, plants will not be able to undergo photosynthesis, because carbon dioxide is one very important raw material needed for photosynthesis. If they provide it and the plants use it, they will produce their own food, and we will also get some of the food. Now, plants also need animals to help with fruit and seed dispersal. For plants, without agents of dispersal, some plants will not be able to colonize or move to new areas because their seeds cannot travel on their own. Their fruits cannot travel on their own. A mango tree will require a human being to come and pick the fruit, eat, and throw the seed away so that the seed can germinate somewhere else. Just as other animals also feed on certain fruits and plants and throw the seeds away, they also need us to also do what? To survive. Another dependency of plants on animals is that plants need nutrients from animals. Yes, animals provide plants with nutrients. Now, when you, in your previous lessons, I'm sure you might have come across farming systems where there are some farming systems where you need to add fertilizer to the soil in order for the soil to be rich in nutrients. Now ask yourself, some of these fertilizers that we add, the organic ones, they come from animal droppings. Yes, so horse dung, cow dung, goat droppings, chicken droppings, we can use it as fertilizer. If you've ever observed cow dung, you see that it's basically made of grass that has just passed through a process, but it still looks grass and it's always mostly green or dark green in color. So when these droppings are put into the soil, they fertilize the soil, helps to increase the nutrients, and then the plants will also grow well. And also when the animals die and they decay into the soil, in quotes, when they drop or decompose, they release their body nutrients into the soil for the plant to use it to develop. So plants and animals cannot live without each other. We need each other to survive. We need each other to survive. Now we'll move on to the next one, which is adaptation. Now for adaptation, we'll ask yourself, what is this big English here is talking about? Now when we say adaptation, it simply refers to the ability of an organism to live successfully in its habitat. The ability of an organism to live successfully in its habitat. And for an organism to live in its habitat, it needs to have some features. Hold on. Yes, so for an organism to live successfully in its habitat, it needs to have certain features. Yes, certain features that will enable it to live successfully in its habitat. And those features are what we call adaptive features. Yes, so those features are what we call adaptive features. Now, different organisms have different adaptive features based on where they live. Now, for today, I'm only going to look at the fish. Yes, the fish. The tilapia and the catfish and the mudfish, they are all fishes. But I'm only going to look at a fish. Now, I have here a picture of a fish. Now we're going to look at the features that enable the fish to live successfully in its habitat. And we all know that fishes are found in aquatic habitat or in water bodies, depending either marine or freshwater. Both water bodies are water bodies, but every fish has they almost have the same characteristics. Now the first thing we'll look at on the fish is the gills. This is the gill cover. Now the gills is what is inside the gill cover. When you flip the side of the fish's head, that sponge brownish thing inside the head is what we call the gills. Now the fish uses the gills to breathe. Without the gills, it cannot breathe. It will not survive. That's why when you take them out of the water, they are not able to survive. Then we have the tail fin, or what we call the caudal fin. Yes, we have the tail fin or the caudal fin. Hold on a second. So the tail fin helps the fish to move. If they want to move forward, they use the tail fin to move forward. Then we have the dorsal and then the ventral fin. The fins on the top and then at the bottom of the fish. The top and the bottom fins, they help the fish to balance in water, so that when the fish is in water, the fish doesn't do this. So those two fins are there to help the fish balance, so that it doesn't do this. Then we have the pectoral fin. Yes, we have the pectoral fin. Now these are the fins on the side of the fish. Now the pectoral fins are used by the fish for steering. So if the fish wants to move left, it will only close the left side and open the right, so that the water will push it this way. If it wants to move right, it will only close the right and open the left for the water to move it this way. So they use their pectoral fins for movement. Their eyes are for seeing, their mouth is for feeding. Then there is a thin line on the body of the fish. Unfortunately, you might not see it well in my picture. Okay. Now that line that you see over there, this line, is what we call the lateral line. The lateral line. And the lateral line is used by the fish to detect vibrations in the water. You see, when you put your hand in water, when you try to put your hand in water, when the water moves or shakes, the fish will detect it using this lateral line. And then once they detect it, then they quickly move away. So even if they don't see you, but they feel that the water has moved differently, away, they quickly go. And then the body of the fish too has scales. Yes, the scales. That is the one when you bite tilapia, the woman will use the knife to try it's good off for you. So the scales also protect the skin of the fish. It protects the skin of the fish. So that is for a fish. Now different organisms, as I said, have different adaptive features. Plants also have their adaptive features, but for today we only look at the fish. In our next lesson, we'll look at adaptive features of plants, then we'll look at what we call protective mechanisms of organisms. Yes, the things that organisms use to protect themselves from other organisms. There will be, the notes will be scanned and added to the video on the WhatsApp platform. Then you can do the assignment and then submit it to my number also on the WhatsApp platform. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day. Bye.